The war on Arathis IV had burned the world to dust. Once the planet was covered in green forests and silver rivers, but now only smoke and silence remained. The air smelled of metal and death. Broken machines lay everywhere like the bones of giants. It was the kind of silence that made even a soldier's heart heavy. Sergeant Daniel Cross, a human soldier from Earth, moved carefully through the ruins. His armor was scratched, his left shoulder bleeding where a plasma bolt had grazed him, but he didn't stop. His mission was over, the battle lost, yet he still walked. He wasn't looking for enemies now. He was searching for survivors. The Arathians had once been humanity's enemies, tall, silver-skinned beings with glowing eyes and graceful hands. But when the Harkon swarm invaded, devouring everything in their path, humans and Arathians fought side by side. War had made them allies. Pain had made them understand each other. Daniel's radio was silent, his squad gone. He could hear only the crackle of fire and the soft sound of falling ash. Then through the smoke he heard something, a faint, broken cough. He froze, raising his rifle. But it wasn't a soldier or a monster. It was the sound of someone weak. Dying, he followed it. The sound led him to a half-collapsed Erathian temple. Inside, under a beam of stone, lay an old Arathian woman. Her silver skin had turned pale gray and her long robes were torn. Her four hands trembled as she tried to move. A fallen support beam had pinned her chest. Daniel dropped his rifle and ran forward. "Hey, don't move," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm going to get you out." Her eyes opened slowly, bright blue, glowing faintly even through the dust. "A human?" she whispered. "Why, help me?" He knelt beside her, pushing debris away. "Because you're alive. That's all that matters." She gave a weak laugh, one that sounded like wind through broken glass. "Your kind. Strange." Daniel gripped the beam and tried to lift it. It didn't move. He groaned, his muscles shaking, pain shooting through his injured arm. The woman coughed again, blood staining her lips. "Stop," she rasped. "You will die for nothing," he ignored her. "Then I'll die trying." He pushed harder, every muscle screaming. The beam moved slightly, then a little more. Dust fell into his eyes, but he didn't stop. With one last shout, he heaved it aside. The old Arathian gasped as the weight lifted off her chest. Daniel knelt quickly, checking her breathing. Her ribs were cracked, but she was alive. He tore open a med pack and injected a healing serum into her arm. Her glowing eyes studied him. "You risked your life. For me?" Daniel gave a tired smile. "You'd have done the same." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Once, perhaps. When I was young," he helped her sit up slowly. She leaned against him, trembling. Her hands, all four, clutched his armor. "You have a brave heart, human," she whispered. "What do they call you?" "Daniel. Sergeant Daniel Cross." She repeated it softly, like tasting the sound. "Daniel. Cross. I am Virea, Elder of the Second Light." Daniel blinked. He had heard that name. A leader among the Arathians, a woman of wisdom and power. But now she looked so fragile, just another lost soul in the ruins. He gently lifted her onto his back, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "Hold on tight, Elder, I'm getting you out of here." They moved through the burning ruins together, the human and the alien Elder. Every step was slow, heavy, dangerous. The ground shook as explosions echoed in the distance. At times, she whispered in her own tongue. Prayers or memories, Daniel couldn't tell. After hours of walking, they reached the edge of the forest where the air was clearer. Daniel set her down and gave her his last canteen of water. She sipped it slowly, her eyes watching him with quiet wonder. "You gave all," she said softly, "even when you had nothing left." Daniel shrugged, trying to smile. "Guess that's what humans do." Her hand, light as a feather, touched his cheek. "Then the stars will remember you, Daniel Cross." He didn't know why those words made his chest ache, but they did. As night fell over the ruined world, Daniel sat beside the old alien woman, guarding her as she slept. He didn't care who she was. He didn't care about rewards or glory. He just knew she needed help, and that was enough. What he didn't know was that his kindness, that simple human act, would echo across worlds. It would bind two hearts, two species, and two destinies together. It would change everything. The forest around them was silent after the chaos of battle. The air was cold, heavy with smoke, but still cleaner than the ruins they had left behind. Daniel moved slowly, supporting the old Arathian woman as they made their way through the dark woods. Each step was painful. His wounded arm throbbed and exhaustion pulled at his body, but he didn't stop. The elder Virea leaned against him weakly. Her breathing was shallow, her long silver hair streaked with ash. Every now and then she would whisper a prayer in her language, soft and melodic like wind over water. Daniel didn't understand the words, but the tone was full of pain and hope mixed together. They walked until they found a small cave at the edge of a stream. Daniel set her down gently, then went to gather dry branches. When he returned, she was watching him with calm, ancient eyes. He built a small fire, the flames dancing against the cave walls. "You should rest," he said quietly. "I have rested too long in life," she murmured. "But I thank you, Daniel Cross of Earth." He smiled faintly. "Most people just call me Dan, Dan," she repeated slowly as if testing the name. "It is short and warm like your heart." He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I'm just trying to do what's right." She tilted her head. "Even when no one is watching?" He looked into the fire for a long time before answering. "Especially then." For a moment the old alien woman was silent. Then she spoke again, her voice trembling but full of strength. "Our worlds have fought for centuries. Humans called us monsters. We called you destroyers. But now I see truth. You are not destroyers. You are healers who carry pain like armor." Daniel looked up, surprised by her words. "I don't know about healer," he said quietly. "I've done things in battle I'm not proud of." "Yet you saved me," she replied softly. "That act will weigh heavier in the balance than all the wars you have fought." The fire crackled between them, its light soft on her silver skin. For a while they sat in silence, just listening to the gentle sound of the wind outside the cave. Daniel shared what little food he had, a few energy bars and a canteen of water. She took only a small bite, smiling at his stubborn generosity. "Your people. Strange," she said with a weak laugh. "You give even when starving." Daniel smiled. "Guess we're just built that way." Her eyes softened, full of emotion. "Perhaps that is why the stars chose your kind to rise so quickly, not for your strength, but for your compassion." Hours passed. The old woman began to tremble as the cold deepened. Daniel moved closer, wrapping his survival blanket around her shoulders. She rested her head against him, and for the first time her body relaxed. "Tell me, Elder," he said quietly. "Why were you alone in that temple?" Her gaze went distant. "I was waiting for the end. My people, most fled. I chose to stay. An elder must remain when her world burns." "Then I guess it's a good thing I showed up." She smiled softly, tears glimmering in her glowing eyes. Perhaps the universe still has mercy left. When dawn came, the sky turned pale gray. Distant ships could be seen, Erathian evacuation cruisers returning to collect survivors. Daniel helped her stand. She was weak but alive. They walked again, slowly, through the remains of a world that once shone with light. At the edge of the clearing before the ships landed, Virea stopped. She turned to him and took his hands, her touch gentle but trembling. "Daniel Cross," she said solemnly, "you have saved not only my life but the light of my people." He shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do." "No," she said, her voice sharp with emotion. "Not anyone. Many would have left me to die. You did not." Her glowing eyes met his, and he saw something ancient and powerful behind them. A wisdom born from scent. "Eries, because of you our hope will live, and I swear upon the circle of stars, the dead of the elder shall not be forgotten." He frowned slightly. "I don't want a reward," she smiled knowingly. "The stars choose their own rewards, Daniel. When you are called, do not refuse. The gift of the light may come in strange form." He blinked, unsure what she meant. "I don't really understand." "You will," she whispered. In time, the Erathian ships landed with a hum of energy. Soldiers rushed to her side, bowing deeply. Daniel stepped back, feeling suddenly out of place. Before boarding, Virea looked back one last time. "Remember this, human. Kindness echoes farther than the sound of war." Daniel nodded slowly, watching as the ship rose into the pale sky. He didn't know it then, but those words would follow him for the rest of his life. A promise made between two souls from different stars. As the ship disappeared into the clouds, Daniel stood alone among the ruins of Arathis IV. The world was silent once more, but something in his heart had changed. He didn't know what kind of gift she spoke of. He only knew that somewhere far beyond the sky, an alien elder remembered his name, and fate was not done with him yet. Months passed after the war on Arathis IV ended. The wounds of battle healed, but some memories refused to fade. Sergeant Daniel Cross returned to Earth with nothing but his uniform, his scars, and the quiet weight of what he had seen. The medals they pinned on his chest meant little to him. What stayed in his heart was the memory of that old alien woman, Elder Virea, and her last words before leaving. The gift of the light may come in strange form. He tried to forget them, but sometimes in his dreams he would see her glowing eyes and hear her whisper, "Do not refuse." Now Earth was peaceful. The war was over, and Daniel had taken a small job helping rebuild the cities damaged by orbital debris. He lived simply, in a small house near the coast. Every morning he walked to the cliffs, drank his coffee, and watched the sunrise. It was quiet, too quiet maybe. He missed the purpose the battlefield gave him, even though he hated the killing. One evening, as he sat outside fixing an old communicator, the sky above him shimmered. A ripple of light spread across the clouds, and a deep hum filled the air. Daniel frowned, standing up. He knew that sound, an Erathian technology. The hum grew louder until the air itself seemed to split apart. A portal of blue light opened above the ocean, glowing like a living star. From its center descended a small silver craft, sleek and silent. It hovered above the ground, releasing a single sphere of light that floated toward him. Daniel stepped back, unsure if he was dreaming. The sphere stopped in front of him and unfolded into a hologram, an Erathian messenger, tall and graceful, her voice calm and echoing. "Sergeant Daniel Cross of Earth," she said formally. "By decree of the Circle of Stars and Elder Virea of the Second Light, you are summoned to the Erathian homeworld. The Elder wishes to honor her life debt to you." Daniel stared, speechless. "Honor her what?" "Her life debt," the messenger repeated. "By saving her, you have bound her lineage to you in eternal gratitude. The Elder commands your presence for the ceremony of light." He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Look, I appreciate the invite, but I'm no hero. I just helped someone who needed it." The hologram's eyes glowed brighter. "Elder Virea does not offer request. She offers destiny." Before he could argue, the sphere of light expanded, wrapping around him. His breath caught as the world around him vanished in a rush of color and wind. When the light faded, Daniel stood on a surface of smooth silver crystal. The air shimmered like liquid glass, and in the sky hung two suns, one gold, one pale blue. He was on Erathia, the homeworld of the people he once fought. Everywhere he looked, the world glowed softly, floating bridges, gardens suspended in air, and tall spires that reflected light like jewels. The Erathians moved with calm grace, their eyes glowing faintly, their voices musical. Daniel felt out of place, like a soldier who had stumbled into a dream. Two guards approached him and bowed slightly. "Human Daniel Cross, follow us. The Elder awaits." He followed them through a hall of crystal pillars until they reached a great chamber. At its center stood Elder Virea, no longer frail or broken. She was radiant now, her skin gleaming like polished silver, her robes flowing with light. Yet her eyes were the same, warm, kind, and full of ancient peace. When she saw him, she smiled. "You came," Daniel nodded awkwardly. "I didn't exactly have a choice," she laughed softly. "Fate rarely gives choices, my friend." He looked around at the grand hall. "So what is all this? Some kind of ceremony?" "Yes," she said. "The ceremony of the light, a life debt repaid." "I told you before I don't need payment," Daniel said firmly. "You don't owe me anything." Virea stepped closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "You misunderstand. This is not a reward. It is a bond. The stars themselves remember your mercy, and we honor what cannot be measured." Daniel frowned slightly. "Bond?" She smiled mysteriously. "Soon you will understand." He sighed, rubbing his neck again. "I hope this isn't going to be one of those ancient customs where you make me eat strange food or wear glowing robes." Virea's laugh echoed like soft bells. "No, Daniel Cross, it is something far more meaningful." Before he could ask more, a soft light filled the room. The Erathian council entered, tall figures draped in silver and blue. They began to chant, their voices harmonizing in strange beauty. At the center of their circle, a column of light formed, swirling with blue and gold energy. Daniel shielded his eyes. From within that light, a figure appeared. It was not another elder, but someone young, slender, graceful, her silver skin glowing faintly. She looked fragile, her long hair flowing like liquid metal. Her eyes, wide and curious, locked onto his. Virea's voice was gentle as she spoke. "Daniel, this is Lyra, my granddaughter." Daniel blinked in confusion. "Your granddaughter?" Virea nodded slowly. "You saved my life. And by our law, my lineage belongs to the one who carried me from the fire. She is yours to protect, to guide, to share your light." Daniel froze, words stuck in his throat. He stared at the young woman who bowed deeply before him. Virea's eyes softened. "Do not fear. This is not ownership. It is unity, the bond of the saved and the savior. Be gentle with her, human." Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't know what fate had just wrapped around him, but somehow deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. The great crystal hall glowed with gentle blue light, and Daniel stood frozen, not sure whether to bow, salute, or simply run. Before him stood the elder's granddaughter, Lyra, a young Erathian woman with silver skin that shimmered softly under the light. Her eyes, wide and filled with quiet fear, met his for only a moment before she looked down. Her 4 delicate hands clasped together nervously. The silence stretched. Daniel swallowed hard. I don't understand," he said slowly, turning toward Elder Virea. "You said you wanted to honor me, but what does this mean? She's your granddaughter, not—" Virea's calm voice stopped him. "Yes, she is my blood, the child of my only son, and through our ancient laws she now belongs under your protection. You carried me from death. You carried my line into life." Daniel frowned, shaking his head. "I didn't save you to be rewarded. I don't want anyone belonging to me." The elder smiled faintly, as though she expected this. "You misunderstand again, Daniel Cross. The word belong means something different to us. You will not command her. You will walk beside her. She will learn from you the strength and heart of humankind, and you will learn from her the ways of peace, patience, and light." Lyra lifted her gaze slightly. Her voice, soft like wind and water, carried across the hall. "Grandmother said you risked your life to save her." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "Anyone would have." Her head tilted slightly. "Not anyone. Many would have left her to die. You didn't," he gave a small, uneasy smile. "I guess I'm just bad at walking away." A few of the Erathian council members watched silently, their glowing eyes filled with curiosity, and some disapproval. Daniel could feel the weight of their gaze. He wasn't sure if they saw him as a hero or a mistake. Virea stepped forward and gently took Lyra's hand, guiding her toward him. "This is the bond of the light debt," she said. "You saved me, so my family stands with you. Wherever your path leads, she will walk with you. Protect her as you once protected me." Daniel looked from the elder to the young woman, still unsure what to say. "I don't know if I'm the right person for this," he said honestly. "I'm just a soldier. My world isn't easy or calm like yours. It's loud, messy, full of pain." The elder smiled with deep understanding. "And yet you still carry kindness. That is why the stars chose you." Daniel exhaled slowly, then looked at Lyra again. She seemed fragile, almost afraid. But there was something strong in her eyes. Curiosity. Maybe even courage. He finally nodded. "All right," he said softly. "If this is what you want, then I'll protect her. I'll make sure no harm comes to her." Virea's eyes softened. "Not just protect her, Daniel. Be gentle with her. She has never known the world outside Erathia. She sees beauty but not pain. Do not let the darkness of your wars touch her heart too soon." Those words hit him harder than he expected. "Be gentle." He nodded again, this time with quiet respect. "I promise," the elder smiled. "Then it is done." A light blossomed between them, a soft pulse that spread from Virea's hands and wrapped around Daniel and Lyra both. It felt warm, alive, almost like a heartbeat. The glow faded after a few seconds, but something lingered, a faint connection he could almost feel deep in his chest. Lyra looked at him, her blue eyes uncertain. "Did you feel that?" "Yeah," he said softly. "Like a thread between us. That is the bond," Virea said. "It will not control you. It will only let your hearts understand each other when words fail." Daniel wasn't sure if that comforted him or scared him. The idea of being connected to someone across worlds was strange. But when he looked at Lyra again, she gave a small, shy smile that somehow made the heavy moment feel lighter. "Come," the elder said gently. "There is much you both must learn. Tonight the circle will feast in your honor, Daniel Cross, the human who carried light through fire." As they walked through the shining halls, Daniel glanced at Lyra beside him. She moved silently, graceful as a shadow, her silver robes flowing behind her. Occasionally she would glance at him, then quickly look away. He found himself smiling without meaning to. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all, but deep down he knew this was more than a reward. It was a beginning, one he didn't yet understand. And somewhere behind them, Elder Varea watched the two figures walking side by side, her ancient eyes soft with hope. "Be gentle with her, Daniel," she whispered once more. "For one day she will be your light as you are mine." The silver skies of Arathia faded into the soft blue of Earth as the small transport ship landed on a quiet beach. The air was warm, the sound of waves gentle, and the scent of salt and wind filled the air. Daniel stepped down first, his boots pressing into the sand. Behind him, Lyra followed, her silver skin glimmering in the sunlight, her eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen an ocean before. To her, the waves looked like moving glass. She knelt down, touched the water, and pulled back quickly, surprised by its coldness. "It moves like it's alive," she said softly, staring at her reflection. Daniel smiled, standing beside her. "It kind of is," he said. "The sea has moods. Calm one moment, stormy the next. It's unpredictable." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Like you humans?" He chuckled. "Yeah, exactly like us." That first day on Earth was strange for both of them. Daniel brought her to his small home by the cliffs, simple, quiet, with walls covered in old photos and medals he never cared about. Lyra walked through the house slowly, touching everything with innocent curiosity. The books, the furniture, the framed pictures. "What are these?" she asked, pointing to the photos. "Memories," Daniel said gently. "People I fought with, friends I lost." Her expression softened. "Do you miss them?" "Every day." That night they sat by the fire. Daniel made her earth food and soup and bread. She tasted it carefully, her face twisting at the flavor. "It's strange," she said honestly, then smiled shyly. "But warm," he laughed. "That's what matters." Days turned into weeks. Lyra learned quickly how to speak more human words, how to use earth tools, how to walk through a market without staring too long at everything. She loved simple things. The way rain sounded on the roof, the feeling of sand between her feet, and the glow of the sunset over the ocean. Sometimes Daniel would find her standing outside, watching the horizon with quiet eyes. "You miss your home," he said one evening. Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but not as I thought I would." Arathia was full of light, but also full of rules. Here there is freedom. Even the sky feels honest. He smiled softly. "You sound like a poet." She looked at him curiously. "What is a poet?" "Someone who feels deeply," he said, looking at her. "Someone who turns feelings into words." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Then perhaps I am learning to be human." They laughed together, the bond between them growing stronger in small, quiet ways. But sometimes when the nights were silent, Daniel would look at her and feel something deeper. Not just friendship, but a warmth he couldn't explain. Yet he said nothing. She was his responsibility, the elder's granddaughter. He had promised to be gentle. One afternoon, while repairing the old fence near his home, Daniel accidentally cut his hand on a nail. It wasn't serious, but blood dripped from the wound. Lyra rushed over, her eyes wide with worry. "You're hurt," she gasped, grabbing his hand gently. "It's fine," he said, wincing a little. "Just a scratch," but she didn't let go. She pressed her palm against his wound, and a soft blue glow surrounded his hand. The pain faded almost instantly. When she removed her hand, the cut was gone. He looked at her, surprised. "You didn't tell me you could do that." She smiled shyly. "You once said humans help because it's right. Now I do the same." Something in her words, in her eyes, made his chest ache in a way he couldn't explain. That night, as the rain fell softly outside, they sat near the fire again. Lyra watched the flames flicker. "Daniel," she said quietly, "why do humans give so much? Even when they hurt?" He looked into the fire, thinking, "Because sometimes it's the only way to heal ourselves. When you help someone, you remember that not everything in the world is broken." She turned to him, her eyes shining faintly in the light. "That is what grandmother meant when she said, 'Be gentle with her.' She wanted me to learn what you carry inside." "Be gentle with you?" he repeated softly. Lyra nodded. "Yes, because I am still learning what it means to feel." Daniel smiled, his voice tender. Then we'll learn together. For a long time they sat in silence, two beings from different worlds, sharing the same warmth, the same quiet peace. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the world clean. And though neither of them said it aloud, both knew something was changing, something fragile, beautiful, and real. It was no longer just a bond of duty. It was becoming something far deeper. Peace never lasts long. For a while, Daniel and Lyra lived in quiet harmony on the cliffside. She learned to paint sunsets using earth colors, and he taught her how to fish, though she refused to eat them afterward, saying their eyes looked too curious to die. They laughed often, shared silence easily, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt something close to happiness. But the world outside their small refuge had begun to whisper. Drones spotted Lyra near the shoreline one morning. Her silver skin and glowing eyes caught the attention of the Earth Council, and soon soldiers arrived in armored transports demanding answers. Daniel saw them before Lyra did. He was chopping wood when the air filled with the sound of engines. He froze, his chest tightening. He knew that sound. Authority, orders, control. He ran to Lyra, who was sitting near the waves, her bare feet sinking into the sand. "Lyra, we have to go," he said urgently. She looked up at him, confused. "Why? What is wrong?" "They found you." She stood, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and disbelief. "But I did nothing wrong." "I know," he said, grabbing her hand. "But they won't see it that way." Moments later, soldiers surrounded the small beach house. Their leader, a stern woman in gray armor, stepped forward. "Captain Daniel Hayes," she said sharply. "You are harboring an unregistered extraterrestrial." "Step aside." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She's not a threat." "That's not your call," the officer replied coldly. "By order of the Earth Council, the alien is to be detained for research and security evaluation." Lyra looked from Daniel to the soldiers, her voice trembling. "Daniel, what are they saying?" He turned to her, his eyes burning with anger and sorrow. "They think you're dangerous. But you're not. I won't let them take you." The officer's patience broke. "Last warning, Captain." "Step aside." Daniel moved in front of Lyra, spreading his arms. "You'll have to go through me first." The soldiers raised their weapons. For a moment the world seemed to freeze. The sound of the sea, the cries of the gulls, even the wind held its breath. Then Lyra stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Please," she said softly, her voice trembling but calm. "No fighting. They do not understand." Daniel turned to her, his voice rough. "They'll hurt you." She looked into his eyes, tears glistening like silver. "Then let them hurt me. But I won't let them hurt you." Something in her tone silenced everyone. The officer hesitated, her grip tightening on her weapon. But before she could order anything, a bright blue light flared from Lyra's body. It was not an attack, it was a message. Her emotions flowed through the air like a wave. Sadness, peace, kindness, and an overwhelming desire to protect. Every soldier lowered their weapon instinctively, eyes wide. The officer blinked, her voice shaky. What is she doing?" Daniel whispered, "She's showing them." When the light faded, Lyra collapsed. Daniel caught her before she hit the sand, holding her in his arms. "Lyra, hey, stay with me." Her breathing was weak, her voice faint. "Too much energy," she murmured. "I just wanted them to see that I mean no harm." Daniel's throat tightened. "You didn't have to do that." Her lips curved into a small, tired smile. "You once told me humans give because it's right. I learned from you." The soldier stood in stunned silence. The officer slowly lowered her helmet and looked at Daniel. "We will report this to command," she said finally, her tone uncertain. "For now, you're to stay here. No one else will approach without clearance." As they left, Daniel carried Lyra back into the house. She was exhausted, her glow dimming, but she managed a faint whisper. "Did I do right?" He brushed her silver hair gently, his voice trembling. "You did more than right. You showed them what we could be." That night, Daniel stayed beside her bed, holding her hand as she slept. The fire burned low, casting soft light across her peaceful face. Outside, the storm that had gathered earlier finally passed, leaving the stars clear and bright. For the first time in a long while, Daniel looked up at them and felt hope. But deep down he knew this wasn't over. The world had seen her now, and they would come again. Only next time, they wouldn't just come with questions, they would come with fear, and he would have to decide just how far a human heart could go to protect what it loves. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet. The soldiers were gone, but the silence they left behind was heavy. Daniel knew it wouldn't last. Governments didn't forget what they feared, and Lyra, beautiful, kind, and different, was something they feared deeply. She was recovering slowly. The light that once shimmered beneath her silver skin had dimmed. She moved slower now, spoke softer, and often stared out the window at the sea. Daniel tried to smile, to cook for her, to talk about the little things, but deep down he could feel it. Something was wrong. One evening he found her standing barefoot on the cliff, watching the stars appear one by one. The wind tugged at her hair as she spoke, her voice soft and distant. "My world used to shine like that," she said. "Each star had a name, each name a story. Now most of them are gone." Daniel stood beside her, his chest tightening. "Your people will rebuild," he said gently. She shook her head. "No, they will move on." "But her voice trembled. "I don't think I can." He turned to her. "You can. You're stronger than you think." She looked up at him, her eyes full of sadness and warmth. "Then why do I feel like fading?" Daniel took her hands, his voice breaking slightly. "Because you've given too much. You used your power to save us. You don't need to carry the world anymore." Lyra smiled faintly, her touch cold against his skin. "Your world is worth carrying." For a moment, the only sound was the wind and the sea below. Then the sky lit up. A bright ship appeared far above, breaking through the clouds, smooth, silver, and unmistakably alien. Daniel's heart sank. "They're here for you," Lyra nodded quietly. "Yes, my people have come." The ship descended slowly, its light bathing the cliff in blue and gold. A voice, soft yet commanding, echoed through the air, the elder's voice calm as the tide. "Child of Arathia, you have fulfilled your duty. It is time to return home." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "Grandmother," she whispered. "I cannot. My home is not there anymore." The elder's image shimmered before them, her face kind but firm. "You are fading, Lyra. Your energy is nearly gone. If you stay here, you will die. Come home, child." Daniel's throat went dry. "Wait, there has to be another way. She can live here. I'll protect her." The elder turned her gaze toward him, her expression full of sorrow. "Human, you already have. You showed her compassion when the universe turned away. You were gentle as I asked." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let her stay." Lyra reached for his hand. "Daniel," she whispered, "I want to stay, but I can't fight what's happening inside me. My body, it's not meant for this world." He pulled her close, his voice raw. "Then I'll come with you." She smiled sadly, shaking her head. "You can't. Your place is here where hope is needed." The ship's light grew stronger, surrounding them. The elder's voice was fading. "Say your farewell, my child. The gate will close soon." Tears streamed down Daniel's face. "Lyra, She placed her hand over his heart. "You don't need to say it." "I already feel it." He swallowed hard, his voice breaking. "You changed me. You made me remember what it means to care again. And you showed me what it means to live," she whispered. Her body began to glow, the light spreading through her skin like morning sunlight. The wind swirled, the air humming with energy. She leaned in close, resting her forehead against his. "Be gentle with yourself, Daniel," she whispered. "That is my last gift." And then she was gone. The light lifted her into the sky, fading into the clouds until only the sound of the waves remained. Daniel stood there for a long time, staring at the stars where her ship vanished. The night felt endless. When dawn came, he found something glowing faintly in the sand near his feet. A small crystal, still warm, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. He picked it up and held it tight. Years later, people spoke of the strange light that once fell on that cliff, and of the soldier who refused to leave the sea. They never knew the full story. They never knew that sometimes love didn't end in keeping. It ended in letting go. Daniel would watch the stars every night, whispering softly to the wind, "Be gentle with her, wherever she is." And somewhere across the vastness of the stars, a faint light flickered back, as if answering him. The end.